Needles, can you take roll call for the record, please?
Sure. Commissioner Bacco,
Here.
Commissioner Whitaker,
Here.
Commissioner Godioso,
Here.
Commissioner Roykowski,
Here.
Commissioner Neary,
Here.
Michael Pierce,
Here.
Lisa Catania,
Here.
myself, George Needles, present.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Upper Chichester Township Board of Commissioners Caucus meeting for tonight, December 2nd, 2021. We have 3 presentations tonight. After the presentations, I'll take citizen comments. The first to present tonight is a land development application for 820 Columbia Avenue, which is a TNT project, and representative that will speak for on behalf of TNT will be Mr. Hoopman. So at this time, can you please come up? Thank you.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Matthew Hoopman, professional engineer and president of the firm of G.D. Hoopman and Son with offices in media. We were retained by Ryan Development Group to prepare the land development plans for the subject parcel. Also here tonight is Matty Ryan with Ryan Development, the applicant. The site is located at the northeast corner of Blue Ball Avenue and Columbia Avenue. Sheet 1 of our land development plan is shown on the screen. The applicant is, as I stated, Ryan Development LLC. It's an 8.64 acre tract of land. 4.92 acres of that property is actually located in Lower Chichester Township, and 3.73 acres of land is located in Upper Chichester Township. This land was part of Parcel B of the Chichester Business Park. The TNT retail fireworks store, which is located to the east of this tract, presently I think has a pending subdivision plan with Upper Chichester and Lower Chichester Township, creating this parcel, which is known as Parcel B2. So the TNT retail is located on its own proposed own tract of land, again to the east of this parcel, and this Parcel B2 is created, and this land development then is encompassing Parcel B2. What is proposed is a 40,700 square feet mixed use building. All the improvements are located in Lower Chichester Township. And really what's happened here is that there's the township line between Upper Chichester and Lower Chichester Township bisecting the property. And by and large, Upper Chichester Township portion, which is in the northerly portion, is encompassed by wetlands and wetlands buffer area, making it by and large undevelopable. So that being case, the decision made early was to keep all the improvements in Lower Chichester Township, since basically that's where they needed to go anyway. The type of building is a mixed use building. Maybe 15 to 20% of the building will be office use, which is and then the rest would be either assembly area or warehouse area. There's not a tenant lined up for the building yet, but that is what is anticipated to be the ultimate use. Access to this site is both off of Columbia Avenue down here at the southeast corner, and a secondary access to Blue Ball Avenue along the westerly portion of the tract. The loading area for this building would be all out front or adjacent to Columbia Avenue, between Columbia Avenue and the proposed building. Of course, the building will be served by public water and public sewer. The stormwater management there's a basin out behind the building and a subsurface stone stormwater management bed, a large one in front of the building. And over here in the southeast corner is an existing basin, which really serves the TNT tract, and that's going to be maintained in an easement on this subject parcel. We've had 2 sets of review comments from the township engineer dealing mainly with issues surrounding the stormwater management basin. I believe we've worked through most, if not all, of those issues with the township engineer. However, we would expect that any approval given by this board would be conditioned upon a satisfactory resolution of any items listed in the last review comments issued by the township engineer. And also, we would expect that since this parcel is not a standalone yet, that any approval would also be conditioned upon the subdivision plan being first, I believe already has conditional approval, but that progressing to the stage where it would become a recorded plan. So that's kind of a brief overview. Again, the improvements are located in Lower Chichester Township, but since this parcel encompasses land in Upper Chichester, that's why we're before you. We've already received conditional final approval from the commissioners at Lower Chichester Township, and we'd hopefully be seeking the same from Upper Chichester Township.
At this time, I'll take any comments from the board. Commissioner Bach, do you have any comments?
When they come in off of Columbia, is that the end off of Blue Ball or off Chichester Avenue?
Well, it's
Because that road need any improvements, the little piece off Chi Avenue?
there was concern at Lower Chichester is that they didn't want any of the truck traffic coming or going from
Chichester
Chichester
Yeah,
Avenue. Yeah, so they've committed to signage and to instructing all their vendors that they have to come in from Blue Ball Avenue.
That's our traffic on that side.
Yes. I think Lower Chichester is also very sensitive to that.
Yeah.
Matt, you mentioned that the traffic's coming off of Blue Ball Avenue
Yes.
from Ridge or coming out of Ridge Road or more or less I-95
I think I-95.
coming to
As-
our way.
As far as like the tractor trailers, the larger vehicles would be coming up from I-95 and then make their way toward to Columbia.
Well, if they come off I-95, they're not going to be able to make the right on the Columbia if that's where they're not wanting the traffic to go through.
Right.
So that would
I mean,
make-
yeah,
take
they
them
have to come off further. What would that be? South
Down
or
to
west?
Ridge.
down the
Yeah.
ridge and then come back up.
Yeah.
Not from right. Okay. I mean, that's good because of the Boothwyn Town Center plan that we have in stored has some concerns on Blue Ball and Chichester Avenue. And this is a good point that we need to discuss too, to put in our plan. Thank you.
Plan, isn't it, to consideration to close Blue Ball at
Yes.
Chichester?
Yes. That, when we met with Delaware County Planning, some of the suggestions for the Boothwyn Town Center, the plan was either take Oklahoma and Blue Ball and keep them on Oklahoma through the backside and take everybody up to Columbia to make the left on the Chi Avenue. One of the recommendations only, and this is just recommendations in their plan, was not to make any left-hand turns off of Malatesta, Scott, and whatever the other Basin. So just to keep everything up towards, so the concern wouldn't be that would force them down the Ridge Road no matter what.
Right.
Because if we don't allow, I just don't want to see tractor trailers. We're going to get the tractor trailers coming off of Blue Ball, Chi to Blue Ball.
Yeah, right.
So that's already a concern. I mean, that could be redirected with PennDOT or whoever if we have to. So
My only comment is not really directed towards the project itself, but if the Boothwyn Town Center's one of the goals that is to close down Blue Ball, we might want to discuss it with the school district. Bus routes that we might want to look at with that also. I'm not saying I'm totally opposed to it, but I'm just saying that a dialogue should.
yeah, that'll be in my report later on tonight about the Boothwyn Town Center. But yeah, We're almost on the end side. It's just a plan. It's just division. It's just the
Mhm.
recommendations from everybody. And some of it, we didn't, this was just recently that was brought to our attention. So
Okay.
it's, but to see this here now, brings it up to a more of a
Right.
concern.
Are there any citizen comments regarding this topic at this moment? Matt, thank you for presenting.
Thank you.
And, we will be voting on this next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is a presentation of, on the land development application for 24 Creek Circle. That's Gear Plastic. It's right up the hill here, adjacent to us. And I believe it's Dan Hopperwell will be presenting.
Yep. Good evening.
Thank you.
Dan Popplewell with Nepo Associates and representing Gear Plastics this evening. I'm in front of you for a 4,300 square foot addition to an existing 60,000 square foot building, which is on lot 24 in the Namens Creek subdivision. As you pointed out, it's your neighbor directly to the north up on top of the hill. I've been in front of you guys probably 4 times now for this particular property. We've gone through a number of expansions. Originally, the building was about 35,000 or 30,000 square feet, and we added a 5,000 square foot addition to the rear. We had another application for some silos for product that is used in the process within Gear Plastics. Probably about 8 or 10 years ago, we were in for another much larger expansion. I think it was on the order of 25,000 square feet. And that's what you see directly up on top of the hill here. So what we're in front of you with this evening, I don't have it on the site plan, is a 4,300 square foot expansion that will come out the front. Oh, there we go. It'll come out the front of the building, which is presently paved and is loading dock area for the facility currently. They don't really need as many loading docks as they have, so it really gives us it's another opportunity just to expand out. They're probably going to employ another 2 or 3 employees. It's not a labor intensive facility. Everything is automated. It's actually a very neat function if you ever go in there. Everything is automated. It comes in off the hoppers. It's pellets that they then heat up and extrude into rods. They make various plastic products out of the extrusion process. They are really anxious to get going. They want to try to have this up and running by the mid to the end of next year, 2022. And like I said, they'll employ probably another 2 to 5 employees within this building. We do have review letters from Lisa, which deal primarily, my impression was that when we originally developed Namens Creek Center, we had done compensatory stormwater management for the entire park. I thought that we would be, and since we're going over top of existing paving, that we would be exempt from the stormwater criteria. Lisa's office did some research and they said, we still have to meet the water quality or the 2-year storm event, but we don't have to meet the much tougher rate control criteria. So we're going to do that out in the front in the parking area. There's some existing inlets down in here. We'll build a facility, an underground facility to manage this 2-year storm event. No new sewer or water. The building will be sprinklered. And again, there was some confusion, I think, over what we're considering future parking versus existing parking that's on the site. So Lisa's office asked me to clearly delineate what is future. And what we do for future, we don't really need all the stalls per the zoning code. So we've entered in the past into an agreement with the township, and we noted on our plans that in the event the township ever came to us or Gear were to sell the building, that we would build the stalls that we're showing. So we actually design and we just show them as future parking stalls. So it's really a pretty simple application. That's about it.
So any questions from the board?
No, this is their easiest one yet.
That's what I like to hear.
It's true.
Well, any comments from citizens about this one particular item? All right, Again, you're on the docket to be voted on for next Thursday night.
Okay, thank
as
you.
well. Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Have a great holiday. everyone.
Last up tonight is our presentation of the land development application waiver request for 700 Meeting House Road, Trinity Church, and Connor Henderson will be presenting.
All right. Like you said, my name's Connor Henderson. I'm an engineer at Pannoni out of the Westchester office. And I'm also joined by Father Paul Gittimu here, who is the head at the church. So the church is located, as you can see, in in the R2 zoning district, which is obviously residential, but it's a house of worship. And then also the project is located in between 322 and 95 to the south end, and the address is 700 Meeting House Road. The project that the church is proposing is going to be a new driveway for turnaround drop off on the west side of the property, and then some new parking stalls around the back side of the property as you move through the site. So everything will be, behind the property or to the west. And then if you could go to the next, there we go. So here's what the site looks like today. The improvement that they made previously was this little parking area down here. Essentially, this gravel road was made and it was ordered to get to access to a building right to the door down there. Since then, the project has gone through some changes, as you'll see on our site plan. If you can just keep scrolling through, I have some other site photos. This is what the church looks like from Meeting House. This being Father Paul's house here on the left, and then this being the main church building here. And then the project is going to take place on this side and then along the back. You can keep scrolling. There's just a close-up image of the front of the church. You can keep rolling through. Another picture. Keep sliding through. And then, so here's the existing conditions plan. The site slopes from the right side to the left side of the screen, flowing east to west. This is the previous project that they did for the turnaround, which we're improving. And then if you go ahead and keep scrolling through. The reason why we're here is because of this gravel driveway right here. Originally, the applicant filed a zoning application with the township for this pad down here for parking in this road. The application was denied. You guys can keep on scrolling through. You can go to the next one. So right here, there you go. So it was denied because of this reason, code section 600-140C, that the driveway must be paved. And if you keep scrolling through, you can see that the driveway is actually gravel. So it was, under our advisement, we prepared plans for the church showing a paved road, and then we resubmitted as a grading permit. Between us revising the plan from what it is here to what was submitted, the project increased. This driveway turned into a loop, and then some extra parking spaces were added. Therefore, it was under the township engineer's guidance that this should come in as a land development project. But we decided to come in and ask for the waiver for land development because of the type of project it is. The use of the building isn't changing. No building areas being added to the project. It's all asphalt expansion just for parking facilities to improve the existing site. You can scroll through. So this is what the proposed plan looks like. This is all existing driveway. As you come up, you come into the existing parking lot. And then as you come around the backside, we're adding new parking stalls along the back part of the building, along this portion of the building. This area is being expanded out. And then this loop road is now being added for pickup and drop off down here. You can go ahead and keep on scrolling through. And this is what our site plan looks like, to give you an idea of where the new parking area is and the new asphalt is. And then I believe our last slide is just the waiver request. So we're requesting a waiver of land development, which essentially is from code section, the land development code section 50512 and 50513, which is the requirement of review and the application and submission process throughout the township. However, the project will still be recorded should the waiver be granted, and we will still submit to the Delaware County Planning Commission.
Any
Sure.
questions at all?
Yeah, I got a couple. Nicole, you have anything? No. Can you go back to the last slide for a second?
Site plan.
Yeah, that one. The loop where you're turning around.
Yep.
That's the addition, that's where the gravel is now today?
The gravel is, yeah, so there's an
It
existing
stops.
sidewalk that's along the west side of it here,
Is it?
and that's where the gravel driveway is. So we're going to remove the gravel. It's going to be a paved surface.
How about the sidewalk?
The sidewalk is going to remain. And then, so a person will be able to walk up along the edge of the sidewalk and get up to the back of the site. Because from what my understanding is, the church does utilize this field for, for recreation and
Right.
events back there.
That was my next, how much ground do they have back there, the church itself? How
The
many acres?
approximate size of the acreage
Yeah,
that the church has. It is here located on the plan. If we can zoom in.
So there's a lot of land around there still.
There
Right?
is,
Pretty good,
yeah.
Yeah. on that
Yeah,
part.
there's plenty enough for,
Are they additional parkings that you have grade in on the back?
yeah, we're adding parking.
There's nothing there right now? Or is it grass there, or is there stone there or anything?
There is some parking there, but right now it's proving that, based upon my conversation with Father Paul, that some extra parking would help them out in the back there.
To improve the whole area?
Yeah,
Okay.
so the plan would be to add the drive loop for pickup and drop off. That would be the first portion of the project, and then they would add the parking after that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
The loop is where the children come out for after school, I take it. You still run daycare there, Father? Okay.
That's what the
Because
goal.
that was always an issue. I mean, my kids did scouts there for years, a long time ago.
Sure.
But and that was always a concern when you see the younger kids, because they'd have to march up through the first to get out.
Mhm.
of the front. If you do open it up again, that will help as well.
Any questions from our citizens tonight on this one particular topic? Not, we'll move on. Again, I believe if granted is good, if a waiver will be granted, we'll be voting on this as well.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'll take any general citizens' comments, if there's any. All right, if there's no citizen comments, we'll move on to our professionals report, and we'll start with their township engineer, Ms. Lisa Lieutenant.
Thank you, Mr. President. You do have a copy of my report. I'm just going to go through this list. Provco Wawa has requested the final inspection. They're expecting that the Wawa be open December the 17th. They're working towards that. They have had a final inspection with regard to the actual buildings. Some of the site work is not completed as of yet. We're hoping to at least have a final punch list prior to that opening. 820 Columbia, we've talked about. I have a resolution. There is a change to the resolution in that, and I have to apologize, my SharePoint is not working properly. So I'm trying to do things from the cloud, and it's not working real well. The item number one, I don't know if you have a copy of it or not. Item number one, actually, the comment that Matt had made concerning the stormwater, they are taking, with the project, they are taking the emergency spillway for the basin, the current basin that is the TNT basin, and relocating it. However, when they relocated it, it would actually flood because they raised the elevation of the area in around the basin 2 feet, it would actually flood the driveway to TNT. That's been resolved. They are putting a swale in to get the water back to the wetland area. You saw the easement on the plan. However, right now, we've asked that they give us the meets and bounds of that easement, as well as notification, something from the TNT property owner, that they are aware that they are now going to have to maintain that swale back to the wetland area. So we just want to make sure that everyone's aware of what their responsibilities are for that basin. So that will be one of the requirements of the resolution, should you choose to approve it. The 24 Creek Circle, we just had that presentation. That is actually pretty clean. Alex has done the review of the stormwater management. The only item that we added to the resolution was the fee in lieu, and it's about $3,400 would be the fee in lieu of open space with that project. 700 Meeting House Road, we just heard that. I do have a resolution ready for that particular project, much like we did for the Meeting House Park Apartments. It's similar language, verbiage. The 464 Conchester Highway Land Development Extension, that's Dunkin' Donuts. I just saw in looking at my messages that we received revised plans, resubmission, 6 o'clock this afternoon. Oh, there's a set here. There's a set here as well. So we will do that review. They are asking for an extension till February of 2022. They're working out the details with Chester Water Authority to get water to the site. And right now they do not have PennDOT approvals, so they're still working through the PennDOT approvals. 900 Township Line Road Land Development Extension. Alex and I, Vince Fioravanti and Paul Buca had a meeting yesterday morning concerning the review comments. There are a lot of will complies, and we've asked for an extension of that land development as well. We have a team that is working on the Green Light Go grant application. This is improvements to Chestnut Street, I-95, and Market Street intersection. It will include replacing the traffic signals, removing some of the pork chops that are in the ingress and egress of the interchange, and as well a road diet within the area. That's something that PennDOT had requested with the last scoping. The scoping form is due next week, so we'll have that in for next week. Brian sent over a exhibit that we're going to include with that, Brian Seidel. So we're all working together to get that project completed. Stormwater projects, we're waiting for easements for the Peach Street project. Ferncroft, we had a public works meeting, and I believe that Putt will have his maintenance guys do a temporary fix on Ferncroft, the 2331, the gentleman that was here a couple weeks ago or 3 weeks ago at the meeting. And we have the Terrace Circle. In our Public Works meeting, what we thought we would do, Putt and I had a conversation. We're going to take a look at all of the projects that we have. There's a list of about 16, 18 stormwater projects. Put them in some semblance of order of how we feel there needs to be some priority put to them, and then give it to the board, and the board can decide how you want to move forward with just a budget cost estimate, so you have an idea of what it would cost to do that particular project, to get some of these things. You'll see the Municipal Public Works, just some of the projects that we have on the list. The Community Development Block Grant 2022, we have a hearing next week for that application. And will also be a resolution that we'll have to do at next week's meeting. Otherwise, the Somerset grading or stormwater project, I shouldn't call it a grading permit, although it is. That stormwater project, we're trying to coordinate a meeting with Falcon Engineering and Mike and I to go through the bid documentation so we can get that out to bid. I believe everything else is in order, and I'll answer any questions that anyone may have.
Any questions for our township engineer at all, from any board members?
Yeah, real quick, Lisa, we did receive the request for final inspection from AutoZone this afternoon via FedEx.
Oh, okay.
So we'll have that on.
So
the
we'll
agenda.
have that on the agenda as well. We have I should have mentioned that. We also have a meeting with PennDOT tomorrow, a final inspection for the traffic signal. Had some conversations concerning lighting. I stopped there before my 6 o'clock meeting here to take a look at the intersection. I do believe that they need to maintain one of the lights that they had originally taken down. So I'll bring that up tomorrow when I meet with Higgins and PennDOT.
With that, AutoZone?
AutoZone, yes.
Yeah. I just have one quick question. The list you get from the highway department for the stormwater, can you list it by the award so we know in case we
Yeah.
don't see something in there that we may have talked
And
about?
he wants to give that to us so we can prioritize.
Right.
Okay.
So he can concentrate instead of jumping all over the place.
Yeah, no problem.
We want this project, you know.
Right.
Because I know we all talk to
Yeah.
Pud all the time, and
Yeah.
if we see something we were talking about, I just want to see whatever's on the list is.
What we determined was that I feel like we're doing a lot of jumping from thing to thing, but we're not getting anything done. We're kind of spinning our wheels a little bit. So this way we'll have documentation that the board can work from. There is no punch list as of yet. Yeah. The wall is in pretty good shape, actually. They've moved the letters twice. I do have one item that came up while we just took a walk through what would be anything that would interfere with Wawa opening on the 17th. Just walked around, took a look at some things. Hey, this needs to get cleaned up. We have to make sure that all the ADA is completed. There's some issues with ADA. We have some puddling on McKay. That is not an issue for the store opening, but it needs to be resolved. So we walked through some of that. Some of the fence still isn't in. Again, that's not something that will interfere with the store opening, but once we do the punch list, we'll get the authorization, do the punch list, we'll do the punch list. I promised them that we would expedite that. Usually, once I do the inspection, that reports out the next day. Let them have it, you'll have it. I've got to give it to them by certified mail per the MPC. We got both Wawa and Provco yesterday, their request for authorization. So right now, it's in pretty good shape. Two of the trash cans in Gibbons Park aren't correct. Again, they're just things that we know need to be finished. There's one of the flagpoles that's not plumb. There's a lot of work on the bases of the lights that need to be fixed. That, again, it's not a list. We had some issues from a legal standpoint of putting together what we call the preliminary punch list for everybody to work from. The developer took us to court and won because you can only have one punch list. So we needed to wait until the project's finished before we do a final punch list. That's why we've been waiting.
So it looks like we're in good shape to open up.
To
on the
open,
17th,
yeah.
to Open up on the
Yeah.
17th, so.
Mhm.
Did you have something else about Wawa?
Yeah,
Okay.
just a quick thing. I was trying to find it here. That ring they were talking about on Meeting House Road, is that being repaired?
That ring was already repaired once. They came in, my understanding, it's a riser ring. So when they milled it out, they needed to put that on in order to get the correct elevation. Unfortunately, instead of buying or obtaining a casted ring they made one themselves. So that was replaced with another. Another man-made. So we're hoping that they'll be able to find one and get that replaced properly.
Even if they open, that shouldn't, just the ring itself shouldn't stop there.
No. No,
You know what size ring they need? I might be able to find one.
I don't know.
See if you can find out. I might be able to help.
Okay.
Did, what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, the box, the panel box for our highway guys behind that wall. Is there any way we could get that secured as a lock for our guys?
That's the one item that, yeah, we talked about it. Actually, when we were out there, we found that the clock wasn't working.
Right.
And somebody had gone in and
Hit the breaker.
took the breaker, yeah. So we really need to get that box secured. I don't know whether it's something that the township wants to do, that it's a typical lock, or it's something that I just tell them buy a lock and put it on, give us the key or the code.
That should have been, I'm just saying for safety reasons, it's open up to the public.
You're right. Absolutely.
Secured from day one.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Regarding Ferncroft, what is the temporary proposal fix for that?
We actually had gone out and gotten a quote on a 60-inch, more or less fern coast. So it's a coupling that would fit around. Putt doesn't want to dig down that far. He is actually going to excavate around the pipe, the top section of the pipe, concrete it, and then fill it back up, just as a temporary fix till we get all of the authorizations to enter.
Bottom dried out. He's afraid if he goes all the way down.
Yeah.
it'll just create a domino.
So,
All right, if there's no other questions for our township engineer, we'll move on to our solicitor's report. Mr. Michael Pierce.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My report is fairly brief tonight. We have the tax millage, tax levy ordinance, actually. That's been, George advertised that, as well as the trash fee millage ordinance. Those two items will be available for passage along with the budget next week, so the tax bills can get out at or near the first of the year. As to the FOP contract, I did have a discussion with the FOP attorney today. I am hopeful and confident that we will have a memorandum of understanding for you to review and vote on next week. Close on most of the stuff. He had to confirm a couple of things with the officers. I presented what our position was and our understanding was on that. So things were going fairly well. I've been working on a number of issues, Somerset with Lisa and getting their whole crew together so that we can get that squared away as soon as possible, get the bid docs out so things will keep moving on that. There are a number of other items, no action items that are required that I've been working with George on, and other than that, everything else is in.
Thank you. Any questions for our solicitor? Any board members? All right, if not, we'll move on to our manager's report. George Needles.
Good evening, everybody. The reports are on file over in the office. The ones that still need to be put together, since it's early in the month, will be in your packet for next week. You'll notice in the meeting minutes, you also this month have the Planning Commission stenographer minutes in your packet, so feel free to read as well. The 2022 budget has been prepared and will be up for your consideration next week. There was no changes from the preliminary budget. We did get some information from that came in late from Solid Waste Authority that they're increasing the prices, and also there was a slight change in the overall assessed value of the township, but both of them were very minor. And when we looked at what we budgeted, we believe that we can absorb those costs into what we currently budgeted. So there's no need to change anything from the preliminary budget. The escrow contingency resolution, we talked about this in the caucus meeting last month, but we never got it. We failed to put it on the agenda. So that's just a simple resolution. The audits. So you'll have all the audit proposals in your packet. We are proposing that we no longer do the quarterly compilations. We find that when we do the quarterly compilations, that we are generally in compliance to a level that they are no longer needed. That is the board decision. The First Class Township Code allows you to do these quarterly audits if you so choose. I don't feel that they're warranted at this point. We have 2 escrow releases. We have one for Nazar Properties, which is a property that's built on Cherry Tree. And then we have one for Mr. Larry Jackson, which was a subdivision plan that was withdrawn. The Health Department. We've been receiving communication from Delaware County in reference to them creating a health department and taking over, quote unquote, or providing inspections to businesses, restaurants. I've looked through that law a little bit, and our solicitor, Michael Pierce, has provided us with a draft letter that some of the communities are using going forward with this. I guess that's a high-level decision of the board of how we're going to proceed forward with this. The reason we need some type of direction is we need to get the business licensing letters out ASAP. We'd like to work on them and be able to get them out next Friday. So really need clarification as to if we are continuing as business as usual, sending these out. So please review that material. I have a lot of concerns with the county health department from a perspective of being able to provide the service, the costs associated with the service, as well as Chapter 400 of their health code, which directly refers to living quarters, which in reading that would lead me to believe that when someone calls here with a complaint that we have to any type of complaint that we may look at from our housing perspective, or even sometimes the property maintenance perspective, we may have to refer them to the county first, because if we fall under their health code, then that inspection of that complaint may supersede our authority. So a lot of things going on there. I know the solicitors have been talking about it, so I don't know, Mike, if you want to interject at this point.
I've been actively working with a group from the First Class Townships in Delaware County. There is a significant amount of concern. They did just apparently hire a director, but that director is not even going to come on board. The concerns as expressed by the township manager are all concerns First Class Townships that group, in that we don't know what our inspectors are going to do. We need to get our I'm hearing that there is a possibility that one of the larger townships file a board action asking that we just be certified. Finalized yet, but I understand. Drafts and concerns are basically Roykowski. So I will keep you posted on that. It may be decision. Excuse me, we may need to make a telephone poll.
Sure. Mike, one quick question. There's enough municipalities that don't we have the option to, for us to, is there any consideration with the county to say, hey, the smaller ones that have very minimum, but we know our town, we know our people, our businesses. Is there enough of us to be able to fight that, to say, hey, put the option there?
So we as First Class Townships are actually in kind of a unique position. Position of some of the folks that have been doing the research, myself included, seem to indicate that First Class Township may be able to opt out of this type of an arrangement based on First Class Township Borough Code. Second Class Townships, these do not have the same potential option that we. So their county's position was pretty well laid out in a letter to all the municipalities in an attempt at a strike, saying nobody has the ability to opt out. We're doing it. That is not my interpretation That's the long answer to the short question,
Right.
perhaps.
I think one of the current concerns that I have, I would like to keep it within the township. It's just my concern is, we have fees for our inspections. And then if the county is requiring that they have to inspect also, then they would have to pay a fee to
No,
a
they would
resident.
do it in place of us. We would not be able to charge fees for this.
So what I'm saying, okay, so a resident could not be charged twice then. Right, so then,
The other issue that the county has currently, they're not certified yet. That process may take 2 years.
yeah, so I'm thinking if they're not up and running yet in January, by the end of January, I would say that we proceed, but that's my,
Well, that's the letter that we're
Right.
working on,
Right.
with George, to send out to businesses. We in conjunction with the township manager, we in a position, they're not even in a position, they haven't even hired inspectors, they haven't anything, and they're not certified at this point. Our position is otherwise.
That's why it's important, like you said, first to get the bills out, the sooner you get them out, and then we get this letter out, so we advise the businesses as to what's happening. If they are notified or they receive some communication from the county, because one of the things they asked municipalities to do was to send them their list of all businesses in the town. I'm not sure if,
I don't believe I received that email, and if I did, it may have went to my junk mail.
so, exactly. In any case, that's what their plan is, to notify businesses. So I want to make sure that this gets out. And
So I think unless everybody is adamantly opposed to it, I think we proceed forward with getting the help all of our annual letters out with this process. The next item is TD card payments agreement. I'm sorry. We've been working with TD Bank to look at different ways that we can create efficiencies and reduce costs in our paying of our bills. And they have a card process that would work for us, in which we can basically set up a line of credit with them, and within that line of credit have various credit cards that are structured in a manner similar to our bank accounts, where they can only do certain things that we tell them they can do. So for instance, we have bank accounts that can't be withdrawn from, that money sits in. We have things that can only take deposits. So these credit cards will be set up to only serve certain vendors and certain accounts. So some of the bills that we have right now that are a nuisance, I call them nuisance bills, like the Comcast bills, you can't set up, they won't give you like a general account with Comcast. So we have like 18 accounts with Comcast. We're constantly writing checks for these, and it's really kind of cost prohibitive. We can set up a structure where all of these are set up to pay on an annual basis, like on a monthly basis, through these credit cards. And then those credit cards are set up so that they only can pay that account with Comcast and nothing else. So we want to transition as many of the payments that we can make, which are monthly reoccurring payments, to these credit cards as possible. So you have some agreements in front of you. Now, from a logistics perspective, I believe that the most prudent way to do this would be to, in January, authorize what vendors those cards would be able to make payments to. And then the payment, instead of getting right now you get a check report monthly, you'll get a payment report, which will have them indicated on the payment report, and that's what will be approved at the Board of Commissioners meetings. It's a system.
And then you would approve as part of your bill, you would approve the payment to that processing company. So it would come across as one payment to those as opposed to 18.
less sign of a checks also, correct?
Absolutely. And the way that card agreement works is we looked at everything with interest rates being so low right now. It behooves us to move as many payments onto that as possible, because we get a refund from it that are paid for it. So it could end up being an additional revenue source, as well as the efficiencies. As Lisa reminded, we have the CDBG Community Development Block Grant hearing next month. I'm sorry, next week. Getting ahead of myself there. We have a couple of projects that have been previously noted, so I'm just going to read through them because I think that'll be one of the things we need to do during the hearing is really kind of hone in on what we're going to do. Sidewalk and curbing ADA improvements on Mill Road was something that we looked at previously. Potential for Chai Avenue, Meeting House Road streetscaping on Meeting House was something we looked at previously. We explored Peach Plum Stormwater Project as being part of this. We've had conversations about potentially paving the alleys and doing the ADA ramps in the Linwood Heights neighborhood, redeveloped neighborhood. And then we've previously talked about the Johnson Avenue sidewalks as well. I've included a rendering that was a bubble diagram done by Brian Siddell. We've met with Lower Chichester about the possibility of doing a joint project on Wallhead Avenue to improve the parking, traffic calming, and some other items down there. I don't know if that project. I don't think that project is a really good fit for the community development block grant, but it could be something that we go for. But there are some projects in here that I think would fit really well. I am interested in us kind of focusing some resources to that Linwood Heights district because we've gotten some traction with the work that we've done down there. So if that would, if the board wants to look that direction, I think that would be a favorable application to housing and community development. 2021 holiday schedule amendment. So we adopted the holiday schedule earlier in the year. We adopted the schedule with one January 1st holiday because the way January 1st fell earlier this year, it was recognized, I believe, on the 2nd. So January 31st this year, or January 1st of 2022, the observed holiday is December 31st. So what I'm asking the board to do is to amend the holiday schedule for 2021 to include December 31st, and then we would not have January 1st on next year's holiday schedule. That's a lot to follow. So it's essentially moving it from one year to another. We have the 2022 holiday schedule that does reflect an addition for Juneteenth. So again, that was not on the holiday schedule before. It is a federally recognized holiday. It's up to the board to whether or not you want to include that. The meeting schedule. The meeting schedule looks pretty good this year with not many of the meetings falling on what would be holidays or days that would be right around the holidays. So that looks pretty good. Feel free to look through that and provide any comment.
I think Commissioner Whitaker noticed that that Veterans Day not on the holiday schedule.
So that has not in the past been a approved holiday of Upper Chichester Township. If that was something that you wanted to add to the schedule, we could do that.
Holiday. I don't know. They only get not the primary one.
Just general.
They just get the general.
Get that off too.
Any questions for our council manager?
Yeah, I got just one. Okay. Just one quick one. Where do we stand with the gentleman that we've contracted with we got all these plans out there and everything moving pretty well forward with the LRTA incentives or anything. We have a hotel. We have project on 322 coming at us. We got Market Street that just wants to build stuff. I mean, that's just the start of it, and I really hope it's not the end of it. And we haven't seen any kind of presentation to the board saying, hey, this is what I come up with, or this is what I feel you should be doing, or like I stated last month, not all about LRTA, it's what other kind of incentives, and this is what we're paying him, $20,000 or $40,000, and we haven't seen nothing since August, when we're at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I'll reach out to Steve and have him get together a presentation for you guys. The last thing that we were on that was kind of independent conversations with the board was in reference to the LRTA. So we're referencing the LRTA in these planning documents as LRTA areas, right? So what I've asked Steve to do is take a deep dive into more of explaining the understanding of what that does. So, for instance, if you do a LRTA district, or you adopt the LRTA area and you say, hey, this is the area that we're going to adopt LRTA. And we met with the solicitor to discuss with this. There's you essentially have to apply that in the manner of no matter what comes in there and requests in that area, that is a LRTA area and LRTA quality.
Yep.
So the approach that we thought would make most sense, and this is what I can have. I'll get Steve to put that finish it in. Was that instead of going with this approach of doing these LRTA areas, is looking at it from the perspective of a decision tree, and then we talk about this a lot when it comes to planning and zoning and all these types of things on how this would work. So a decision tree. So basically, an applicant comes in and says, "I'm interested in developing this property, and I'm interested in the LRTA incentive for this property." Then we would just go by the hard law and say, does this fit this qualifications for this property? Does it not have access to public utilities? Is it an area that we could be considered a blighted area? Is it a property that we consider a blighted area? And if it ticks the boxes, then we say, okay, then we will, put a letter together petitioning the board for them to essentially adopt the LRTA for that property. And then we would work with them through the process of the next two approval levels from the school district level and then the county level.
Right, but there has to be an outline given to us, not just for the LRTA part. I mean, we have pockets for the LRTA, but we also have a lot of tiny other areas that could be redevelopment for incentives. So if we hired this gentleman to do this, I want something coming back to the board to say, hey, this is your options of which you, not in concrete, but like you said, if somebody comes to us, we have a map of Upper Chichester Township and on these areas to say, this qualifies for LRTA I'm just giving an example here. I'm not putting nothing out there. Just did the district of Township Line Road. We already did the hard part. It is now an overlay of everything, whatever we could get in. That would be an example that if I'm this guy and we're paying him to bring back and say, you have these pockets, but you also have pockets that have been developed a little bit, but still have more development. So he should be coming to us to say, these are the incentives you may be able to offer, or you may not, by Mr. Pierce's opinion, making sure we're not going to get into trouble. And the LRTA part, because not everything's going to be LRTA. I understand that, but there's too many little pockets that we have that we are developing through the Boothwyn Town Center, through Conchester Highway, through Linwood Heights, that we should be able to give them an incentive to come in.
Absolutely.
It's all what I'm asking for this gentleman to do.
That's what he's trying to put together, is the criteria for those types of things, as opposed to saying everywhere along 322 is. He feels it's a more productive and a better and a fairer way to do it by saying, I'm interested in developing this property. Having a checklist of items that are on there that we would look at as a board to say, okay, is this criteria met? Is this a property that we want to, at least preliminary from our perspective, approve something for the LRTA and for the development as an incentive? And then if the board approves that, then help him shepherd. Because remember, there's two other approvals that have to occur, one through the county and one through the school board. The school board's going to be the tougher sell. So I think what he's doing, and George, you can correct me, is trying to establish what that criteria should be as opposed to just saying everywhere on the north side of 322 qualifies.
Right.
Here's my question to that, though. If we designate certain areas, okay? This guy's developing something over here, he gets it. This guy comes over here and is doing something, and he don't. How do we-
That's why we're establishing the criteria as opposed to designating certain areas.
Well, what do you tell the guy? He's not in the area, he don't get it?
No,
Does
you tell
he
the
got
guy
a legal?
He doesn't meet the
Need to qualify,
criteria.
right.
There's criteria set by the state, like it's already out there as the criteria. So for instance, like we talked a little bit about the facility over here,
Yes.
but there's other options there. So the idea is to meet with that developer, get an understanding of the cost of construction they're looking at, and then put that through the channel. So for instance, we've already talked to that person a couple times about, okay, how many employees are you bringing? Are you an employment center? Because if you're an employment center, there's state incentives that we can line you up with. That's not falling under that category. So we were looking like for what would be a local incentive. And we do have something lined up that we are going to present in January that we think will be very advantageous to everybody. But I'm going to make sure it's all flushed out as well before we get that.
One last question to that, and probably should go to you, Mike. Okay, this guy ain't in the alert area, so we cut him some other breaks, other ways to get him to build. The next guy comes in and builds. We're gonna argue, I want the same breaks that guy got. I'm scared we're opening up a can of worms.
Yeah.
I think you're actually closing the can. Establish the criteria.
Yeah.
They've got to meet the criteria before you can even consider it.
Right. Yeah,
So I
so
think you're actually making it more objective as opposed to subjective.
yeah, a lot of
But I'm
these-
saying if you don't give them the letter and you give them these other alternatives, does that
Right, but-
open up? a can
Well,
of
but that
worms?
would fall, that would, no, that would, I mean, there may be other, they're not talking about giving away the store. I mean,
No,
it's,
but-
you're talking about
Helping
either-
somebody-
either state-funded programs or state incentives, county incentives,
Okay.
those types of things. kind of
Right, so
leading
it'll be
in
the
that
same
direction
thing.
So that it's, yeah.
I
but
just want to
you
make sure we're
need-
not opening a can of
qualify.
worms.
but, I guess
You do
my
for one
point
builder,
is-
the next one comes in, is gonna
No,
want the
it's-
same thing.
Well,
You know it,
that-
I know.
that may or may-
Yeah,
And they may or may not qualify.
Right.
That's why it's important to have it.
and those programs, they change and they revolve so quickly that it's really, the real key component is knowing who are the key people to go to. So the relationship with the Commerce Center in Delaware County, relationship with DCED, so that when someone comes in and you put them through that, the interview of what they're trying to accomplish, you get an understanding of, okay, what kind of zone is the property and what type of incentives are available. There are definitely some things you can do on the local level, and LERTA is a very strong tool. And we have a very good spreadsheet that we've been able to put together that throw parcels into, streets into individual properties, determine if it would even be viable for someone. There's a lot of properties that you throw in there and they would never have a payback. But there's properties where it absolutely makes sense. But we have an idea for what we'd like to do from a local incentive process. We vetted it. We found some areas that have done it before. Steve's been researching these areas. How effective was it? How did it cost the township? What were the levels of increase in building because of it? Really, it's more about okay, get that person in and have that conversation, and what are the different options we can line up?
Yeah, that's all I was asking is have him come here so we can have that outline ready to go. So when we're ready to do it, whether it's incentives on our end or the LERTA part, and that's all. Bring something to the table, and so or even like I said, the winter time's great. January, February, March when it's cold and all that, we can really dissect it. But I'd like to see something. I do.
George, I have a question for George.
Can we also get a year-to-date of how much we?
The library received their second allotment.
George, on your meeting schedule, you need the reorganization meeting. I'm sorry, I was looking at the dates under the
I will follow up on that. I did have a call into Mrs. Baxter. I'll have to check with Putnam G. Marie.
There's no other questions. We'll move on to our commissioner's report. Mr. Joe Bacco.
Thank you. A lot of the stuff we already talked about my ward, the hotel. I mean, me and George have been in touch. Like one of the things that the guy that wants to build a hotel said is, "Show me some incentives and I'll get the shovels in the ground." He asked about LERTA, and so me and George are going to meet with him. I don't know if any of you want to sit in, you want to be notified. I have no issues with it, but he pretty much, that's what he wants, something to get rolling. He pretty much said that if we give him some decent incentives, he would do the hotel and the restaurant one right after the other, ready to go. Highway and sanitation, I mean, I don't have much to report tonight. We talked about, some of the stuff they got going on with the storm sewer projects and all this. Like Lisa said, we had the public works meeting, and her and Put were both on the same page about some of these projects. That's prioritize them so he knows where to start, and instead of jumping around, and patching things. The only other thing I wanted to talk about, well, I think George mentioned it too. Sewer authority is going to be raising their rates. I mentioned it a week ago to the last. George, if there's they come out with a number yet? The other thing I wanted to talk about is some more Somerset stuff. With all the other stuff you guys been going through, George will tell you, I've been getting bombarded with that new building going up in Aston. I know George has touched base with you, Mike. Board, I mean, some of the stuff that people were told, assured, whatever you want to call it, I don't think's happening. And there's like views that were supposed to be blocked at that place, walls that ain't as high as they thought they were going to be. So I think it's going to get a little contentious, and I think Mike is going to have to get involved on our end. I just want to make sure he's aware of all that.
The height of the wall.
Yeah, there's. It ain't high enough. Don't block the views. It don't, things that they thought they were getting.
Was that all part of the plan, Lisa? Were we able to see the plan, or that we've never seen it?
The problem is, it's literally the borderline between.
Right.
Now, this is the project in Aston you're talking.
Yeah, and really don't think they care about the people in Upper Chi, the developer. I mean, I think
No.
Aston Township has some, tried to work with us a little bit, but I think it's going to get ugly before it gets nice. I might have to get Mike involved on our end.
Well, they solved the stormwater issue somewhat, did
Yeah,
they? Or that's pretty much calmed and
Yeah.
into the last
Yeah,
few
they're
years?
happy.
Can we just meet with somebody? You could
Well,
call
here's
somebody
the
up?
problem, and George will tell you, Vera, their HOA president, George has reached out for me. I've asked him to make a couple phone calls.
I'm saying reach out to Aston just to
Yeah,
say,
we
hey,
have.
We're very limited in what we can do
Yeah,
because it's
right.
not, as you said, Joe, it's not in our township. So for us
It's not going to stop our residents from
I
complaining.
know, but for us to try to enforce it.
No, just whatever little things we could do to just show we're
Yeah,
trying.
no, I don't mind that. I'm just
Okay.
saying it's just gonna.
I'm just,
We're the bad pickle.
we are a real bad one. I'm just bringing this, let you know what's going on.
All right, thank you.
That's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
I know the highway department sent out an email about riding or getting their streets listed early.
Yes.
So I'm going to be I think I'm scheduled to drive with Jim Putman on Monday, December 6th for my. So if anybody hasn't done that yet, if we can get that done sooner than later. I know it's the holidays, but maybe in January, our list after that. With that said, we'll move on to Commissioner Whitaker's report.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Just a couple things. The holiday parade is next Saturday, with the Santa Sprint, the 5K run or walk, whichever you choose. Starts at 10 a.m. And then the village, Christmas Village, will be open from 4 p.m. until 8:30. Parade starts leaving the middle school at 5:30 p.m. And so all of you should have received email notification or something about it. So you see the list of participants, as well as I guess there'll be an email coming out next week to tell us what time we need to be at middle school for the parade. I have an update for regarding the Heart and Soul Committee next week if I have an opportunity to meet or talk with Judy regarding the status and what's happening or what will be happening in 2022. I met with Brian this evening. You're aware that we are making some upgrades. The community center will be shut down for about a month. So next week or so it'll be shut down. Highway Department, I believe, is going to tear up the floors. So we're going to be replacing the floors throughout the center with put new flooring down. We'll also be, I believe, making some upgrades to some of the appliances as well. So it'll be shut down and open at probably mid to the end of January. And I have a question regarding the repository list, and I think I know the answer to it, but I'll ask it anyway. So if we give someone a letter stating that we're okay with them purchasing the property off the repository list, and they don't do anything with it, does the township have any recourse for asking for that back?
I don't know the answer to that. I think they can rescind it.
Even after they purchase the land,
Right, after they purchase it.
Oh, no.
all there. Do they, that's a question. Do they usually have the purchase before they have the decision if they could build on the land? Or basically it's sitting in limbo and then they buy it? So if they ended up buying it first and then came to us and was denied, it's theirs to keep anyway, so.
Right.
That is why you don't see a lot of those approvals, because they are speculative purchases.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for Commissioner Whitaker? Not, we'll move on to Commissioner Roykowski.
Thank you. As George said, the meetings are early this month. The reports will be in next week for my departments. Just a reminder, we do have a tabletop exhibition, I might as well call it, or like a training class for December 13th. If you're going to go, let George know so he could get everybody registered. I had some issues trying to register an extra person today because it kept adding me again. So I'll give you the name. That's from 5:30 to 9:30. Emergency management. Yeah, it's for us and fire department, police department. I know there's a lot of them being there, and the emergency management team, and some school board directors want to get involved, since only God knows if anything happens. We need to get a final, more or less, for the food, since it's 5:30 at night. So the other thing is the fire department. I sent an email tonight. Look it over, respond back to me, see if we could do anything. It was a last minute. I think it'd be a great thing to end for Christmas and this year. The other thing I would like to give, well, we were home about a week ago, so big kudos, the fire department, just to let the public, and I think the Board of Commissioners understand a lot of it. I know the police department does. that they're volunteers and they were out for most of the night for a missing person, which really ended up very well because they did find the individual that unfortunately the next day it was out during the night. The way I want to tell you how it works, you had communities started in Aston and part of Upper Chichester, ended it all the way up over towards Clayton Park is where the individual was found. But there were so many communities that were already out there, fire departments. I just wanted to give a kudos out to them also. I know it was Bethel Township. The Philadelphia Police Department had their infrared helicopter here. The time they were out there searching, you had other fire departments next door to us that were out on calls that literally got on the radio to come reverse in. And this is how they work. This is all volunteer. They were out from, I don't even know when I started emailing the commissioners to let them know. It was early, 6 o'clock at night. And the time I went to bed and everybody else went to bed, they were still out there. But you had Bethel Township, you had Conkerville. They're out there assisting. And I think it was an 83 car, which is Bethel Township, is the one individual that saw him early in the morning. So this is how it works. I just want to give a kudos to all of them. The women, the men, they were out there, and it was a chilly night. And we were very fortunate. We found the individual, and just saying this is how they work. And I know our guys would do the same thing. And if it was towards the lower side, they would be there. Claymont would be there. That's just how they work. And I just want to thank them because no matter what time it is, how bad the weather is, they're there. And it's all volunteer. So I just wanted to let the public know that if they're listening, if they don't, take a look at this meeting. And like I said, I want to thank them all, especially our guys, men and women, the police department, Aston, Upper Chive, all of them. I mean, it was very well out there, and that's just the way they work. So on that note, on the Boothwyn Town Center, real quick, we are on the downside of it. I cannot believe it seemed like we were just talking about it. The task force will be meeting January 10th. That's the last time they will be meeting. The preliminary plan will be going out to them and hopefully to the Board of Commissioners. The goal would be separate meeting because it's got to go to the Planning Commission first. Hopefully they'll have it in time for January's meeting. I would like to have a separate meeting like we did for PennDOT with the roundabouts and stuff like that, just to make sure it's open to the public. It'd be a public questioning and everything else. We just had a concern here tonight with the building in Bluebell Avenue and Columbia that was, hopefully we could get to the committee and put in there as a concern and just to help the plan out. But I would like Nancy's on board, the planning group's on board to the end of February. And does not mean we have to adopt it in February. The board can adopt the plan in March. She just wants to use her services up with the presentation to the board and to the public officially will be the last one. And hopefully in February so we could vote on it in March. So, I'll throw some dates around in March or February. I was hoping the 14th on a Monday because Monday seemed to be good, but I can't do that. That's Valentine's Day. I'll probably be shot. But I wouldn't do that. So I'm looking, if you want to look on your calendars for somewhere around the 21st of February, if you could be here or some other date. I'd like to have it just one goal for that night, open up to the public, let her do her presentation, any questions we have, and then we could adopt it in March. That would do it. Thank you.
What about what if we do it on one of our regular meetings?
It would it's going to extend it. I mean, you're minimum an hour. I mean, you want the people to be able to see what the last presentation she has to present it. All the, whatever, some of the podium she has. I would like to dedicate it that night because I know it would make us go till 10 o'clock here. I figured do it early.
Like a special?
Yeah,
You're
just a
asking for
special,
a
yeah,
meeting.
we can advertise it. And Well, you could do it that, I mean, if you want to come in early. Oh, right. Oh, yes, sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Either way,
7th is
whatever's
better for me.
easiest for you guys.
All right.
I'm flexible on the nights.
We just got to be careful with the other meetings because I spoke to Nancy as well, and she indicated that doing it in like that PennDOT style of like with the presentations out there
Right.
might not be feasible with the requirement of reporting back to the state for the grant.
Okay.
So she said that they would need like stenographer meeting minutes of all the public comments. So I think we just got to tweak it in that schedule. Like probably just it could be done similar in here.
In here, right.
But we'll just have to tweak it around like the meetings so we can figure
Okay.
out which works.
Okay, I'm good.
Any questions for Commissioner Roykowski?
No, I just want to compliment on the search he talked about. It was literally in my backyard. And they impressed me. I mean, our police, the firemen, everybody. I seen things I've only seen on TV before. There was helicopters, drones, everything. They did a good job.
Thank you to everyone that helped out for that, on that night, and the individual was found. All right, we'll move on to Commissioner Joe Neary.
Thank you. The administration and finance bills will be, or finance reports will be available next week. We'll have a list of bills and any refunds if they're available. We'll also consider that real estate tax penalty waiver that I submitted to you. And I will give you, George, the unredacted version of the backup, so that it'll be available if anybody wants to review it. Three things under the police. First thing is the letter that you'll find in your package indicating Sergeant Massey's retirement. The second is the proposed promotion of an officer to the sergeant position that will become vacant, and also the recommendation to hire 2 part-time officers and elevate them to full-time. All of those would be effective January 7th. January 9th. And Sergeant Massey would be January 7th. The other 2 would be January. And, you know, I know we've discussed by email, we've discussed the waiver, and they appreciate it. And as soon as we know what's going on, we need to let the tax collector know that we can move forward with that, because he either needs to, I don't know technically whether he has to accept the full payment and we rebate the waiver to the late fee to them, or whether he can accept the face amount.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So if you,
I think he might be limited.
right, and if you could find that out, because obviously December 31st, it would go to the county, and then we lose control. Thank you. All I have.
Thank you. Any questions for Commissioner Neary?
Joe, just one quick one. If we're moving everybody from part to full, are we opening up the test again for the part-timers? Are we kind of short?
Speaking to the chief, I believe that there is a, and he can correct me because he's here. There is a class graduating from Delaware County in February, and that might be the most opportune time to run the test again, because as indicated in earlier conversations, we only got 3 or 4 applicants, two applicants. I thought it was 3 or 4. We only received 2 applicants, and that wasn't really a viable number to run the test.
Thank you.
All right, if there's no other questions for Commissioner Neary, we'll wrap up with my report. As indicated earlier tonight, 820 Columbia Avenue, we will be voting on that next week on December 9th for a conditional resolution. 24 Creek Circle land development, again, we'll be voting on that on December 9th of next week. 464 Conchester Highway land development, they're requesting another extension, so we would vote on that extension next week. 900 Township Line Road, that is going to be reviewed by our planning board on December 16th. 4800 Chichester Avenue land development, that's going to be reviewed on December 16th as well. They're both a week earlier because of the holiday season. And then 33 Market Street subdivision and 65 Cherry Tree Road. Those items are still under review. Well, actually, 33 is an initial review stage, and I believe 650 Cherry Tree Road is in a holding pattern. The only other thing that I would note, if we are to grant the Trinity Church a waiver, I believe maybe we should just notify the planning board that the Board of Commissioners said granted a waiver and will not be coming for them for any type. Uh, 4124B Chichester Avenue and 2805 Chichester Avenue. They're both going before the zoning board on December 7th. Both of them are mixed-use residential, commercial building uses. I will keep it as to whether it was denied or granted. Are there any questions for me?
Did the church already put a application into the planning board?
Well, they're asking for a waiver, so they would not go.
So they don't have an application in now, so, okay.
650 Cherry Tree Road. They haven't.
They haven't done anything since last discussed it.
Because I know there was some signs up.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. George, are they selling the lots off, or did anybody find that out? Individual lots?
Should we send a letter, or is that something that we should?
You're not going to be able to go there with a transaction.
Right.
Right.
I just want to stay on top of it.
If there's no other questions for me?
I have one other thing I forgot to mention. So next Thursday, next Thursday, Commissioner Dennis Arthur from the First Class Townships of Delaware County, he's going to come and present service awards. George, to myself and Commissioner Baco, did you want me to give him a specific time?
I spoke to Dennis today and told him
Oh.
we put it at the beginning of the meeting, so we'll do it I told him to be around 7:30.
Okay.
Thankful that it wasn't on the agenda for tonight, because he said he looked up our agenda online and he really did not want to go to this meeting because it seemed like it was going to be very long.
All right, that's all I had. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a motion to adjourn?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, meeting adjourned. Thank you.